On this episode of Edge of the Web.
Is SEO improving my rankings in search? Okay, that's part of it. Is SEO getting more organic search traffic to my site? Yeah, that seems like that's part of it. Why don't we start thinking about SEO as making more money from organic search?
Your weekly digital marketing trends with industry trend-setting guests. You're listening and watching Edge of the Web. Winners of Best Podcast from the Content Marketing Institute for 2017. Hear and see more at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now, alongside Tom Broadbeck, here's your host, Aaron Sparks.
Well, welcome back to the Edge of the Web. We're broadcasting from Edge Media Studios located in downtown Indianapolis. Every week we bring you the latest digital marketing trends as well as marketing influencers from around the planet. Check out all of our recent shows over at edgeofthewebradio.com. We're powered by Site Strategics, the title sponsor. Specializing in the digital marketing, agile marketing, actually. And if you're interested in what agile marketing can do for you, simply go over to sitestrategics.com, jump in there, give us a quick contact, and we can actually have an hour conversation wherever you are talking about your online success. My name is Aaron Sparks. I'm the host of the show as well as CEO of Site Strategics. The reason we do this show is not only to bring and demystify a lot of key concepts inside of digital marketing, but also to keep our powder dry, making sure that we're learning on a regular basis what's trending in the marketplace. A little bit self-serving, but at the same time, you know what? We love what we do, and we certainly love talking to some great talent from around the world. To my left is Tom Broadbeck, Director of Digital Media.
Hello, hello.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Doing swell.
Swell. I love swell. I got a swell right here. Look at that. A swell bottle. Never mind.
Not that kind of swell.
I'd like to also introduce somebody who's doing swell. Eric Enge, CEO of Stone Temple Consulting. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and looking forward to chatting today on the show.
Fantastic. And you're a second timer. We've had you on the show a while back, and we certainly appreciate you coming back and sharing some time with us.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to do it. You guys have made some great strides with the show, so congratulations on all of its success.
I appreciate that very much, sir. Well, we've certainly teed up a few news articles for digital marketing. You want to take a stab at it real quick?
Oh, like what kind of news articles did you want me to do?
Oh, wow. We've got some tasty tidbits here. So let's take you through the latest digital marketing news.
I was very excited to start my reportings.
This week's trending topics.
All right, so from The Verge, I'm going to do terrible on this. Jacob Kastronakis. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Google is starting to phase out the old Gmail design. So, Tom, out with the old, in with the new?
Yeah, so Google's announced plans for all G Suite users. This isn't people who just use the normal gmail.com.
Yep.
This is for organizations that pay to use the Gmail. It says the announcements technically apply only to G Suite users, that is, people who've paid, like I said, and Google declined comment on whether the changes will be the same for regular Gmail users, but chances are they'll be similar. The new design was first announced for G Suite users and it was made to free users at the same time. So if you wanted to get the new design, all you have to do is click the little gear icon in the upper right-hand corner of your Gmail, and you can get the new design. No, I don't know if you can play that video in that browser there, but it kind of shows how the new design will look if you have the new Google Drive the design. It will look very similar to that. Watching that video, looked like there was some added features on the side where you can add calendars, add to-do lists, and that sort of thing. And to the right side, the attachments there. I don't know if you saw that there in that first screenshot. The attachments are going to appear within the email. Call it the headline, the subject line.
Yep.
It's going to appear right below, so you don't have to open up the email anymore to see the attachments.
Oh, very
Which
cool.
would be kind of nice, but also looks kind of clunky.
On a smaller screen, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you upgraded your design yet?
I will let other people suffer first and learn from their mistakes and go from there.
Resistance is futile, Tom.
So I think it says so sometime in September, starting in July, administrators will be required to give people the ability to opt in.
Right.
The option will be enabled in August. I had it in mind when I looked earlier today, and then it says sometime in September, everyone will be switched over to the new Gmail design. And then at some point in October, the option to disappear from the new to the old, you can switch back.
Okay.
That feature will go away in October.
Well, Eric, have you switched over to the new design?
But, I've not, but that's partly because I'm not a Gmail user.
Oh, I should have probably asked you that first.
Yeah, so that's sort of the thing that holding us back there. But,
So you're an Outlook aficionado, yeah?
well, not a voluntarily one, but sometimes you don't get the choice in these things.
I understand.
We've got corporate reasons why we are doing it differently, and it's not necessarily my personal preference.
Oh, well, eventually we're all going to be on the cloud, right?
You got it.
All right, and Google's going to be designing for us again and again and again. Well, Google My Business has actually changed a little bit from Search Engine Journal over with Matt Southern. Google My Business lets agencies manage unlimited locations with their new dashboard. So they're making some new changes regularly. This one, I tell you what, I just noticed it as I was managing some GMB a couple days ago. They've actually officially rolled out the new agency dashboard, which is capable of managing thousands of Google listings in one place. Google announced last month that this new dashboard was on its way, while also letting agencies register Google My Business accounts for the first time. Previously, a single GMB account was limited to managing up to 100 locations. Agency accounts are now able to manage unlimited numbers of locations. They can manage all locations under one account. They can send and receive invitations to manage listings. Location groups, you can actually, this was really cool actually, you can actually simplify location management by actually developing a group around certain locations. So as you're managing different companies and they have all their multiple locations, what you had earlier was kind of all these different site locations. Sure. Now you can group them all together. Eric, have you dabbled in GMB for a while?
We actually don't do a lot of local search here. We are working with lots of large enterprises. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's such an important part when you have a lot of different locations. Just to be able to manage all that in one place, especially for an agency.
Yeah.
It's a good piece of functionality that they've added here, and it's a really good step forward for them.
Yeah, that's always the most annoying part of doing the local is trying to get unique login for the user, and then how to get permissions, and then when you need to go to do something, you need to log into the other one. Just trying to keep track of all that was very messy. So hopefully this will clear things up.
Finally, I mean, this property needed an agency platform because literally, businesses don't know what they're doing in this space, and they have to trust an agency to be able to have clean lines there. So, it's a welcome feature on our side of the fence.
Yep.
All right, another article from Matt Southern over at Search Engine Journal. Bing ads to allow advertisers to target LinkedIn audiences. Well, Tom, tell me about this one.
Yeah, so we kind of not teased it, but we kind of predicted it in our last show or 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So here from the article, Bing Ads plans to roll out new functionality which will allow advertisers to target ads to LinkedIn audiences. It was quietly announced by an administrator on the Bing Ads feature suggestion forum, who responded to a post from December 2016 where a user suggested this idea. Blah, blah, blah. We won't read that. It says, in a reply from June 4th this year, the administrator said this functionality will be available before the end of the year.
So we knew we were going to see a connection there with a buyout of LinkedIn. Sure. And I think that's a huge step of remarketing where you really, the only thing that you could do would be roll out AdRoll to be able to pick up all these disparate advertising platforms. Now we've got some cross-platform attribution. Any thoughts on that, Eric?
Yeah, it's a good move for Bing to do this. Clearly they have a smaller marketplace than AdWords, but if they can offer superior targeting options, then this is a way for them to get an edge because, and not just an edge of the web, by the way, but actually.
I love that! That was awesome!
But because, seriously, if you're able to hit a targeted market in a little more specific way with them, then this could make it quite attractive to advertisers.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're also experiencing some great evolution in the LinkedIn ad tool sets as well. So there's a maturation there, and it could very well be a niche and more nuanced type of advertising as opposed to a large scale global search. Environment, and this gives you the ability to really leverage and test different ads and different designs inside of that corporate space. So pretty cool there. Appreciate the pun. That was fantastic. Hey, we certainly want all of our users to jump into this stream and be able to talk to Eric and ask some questions as we do live stream inside of Periscope as well as Facebook. We also would certainly recommend that you sign up for the newsletter, free newsletter coming out of our shop each and every week. We talk about who we talked to and give some great insights from our interview, as well as the news of the day, just like we just went through, as well as some pro tips and who we're going to be talking to in the future. So certainly sign up for the newsletter. Go to you can even text the word Edge Talk, all one word, to the number 22828 to be able to sign up right there from your smartphone. Please don't do it when you're driving. Just have to throw that public service announcement out there, or go over to edgeofthewebradio.com and just jump into the header there. Give us your email, and we will do nothing but send nuggets of digital gold to your inbox. Right, Tom?
Yep.
All right. There you go. Thanks, Tom. Follow all of our featured trending topics over at edgeofthewebradio.com. So let's deep dive with this week's featured guest.
Now it's time for Edge of the Web featured interview with Eric Enge, CEO of Stone Temple Consulting.
Well, so all of our listeners and Facebook watchers and stream watchers, we certainly appreciate Eric coming back to the show. We had him on a couple years ago. Eric's the founder and CEO of the award-winning Stone Temple digital marketing agency. Stone Temple was actually founded in 2002. Fantastic for a company being around that long, and has grown to 70 employees. Eric, we would certainly love to hear your history in your words.
Sure. Happy to do that. So first I was born. That's
detail that.
No, I'm an engineer by background in the very early days of my career, and after 10 plus years of being in the world doing engineering like things, I made a dire mistake, which is I let people. Company I was working in at the time, a company called Phoenix Technologies, discovered that I was able to talk to non-engineering people and explain engineering things, and deal with technical topics and make them consumable by the average audience. And so that actually led me into taking a turn towards the dark side by making marketing and business stuff. I began to do that, and long journey. But by 2002, I discovered SEO. The way that happened was that I was actually doing business development consulting for a living at the time, and I had a friend of mine who brought me in to a company for which he was CEO, and this company was selling DVDs online. And he wanted me to do biz dev deals for him. And I started poking around at that. But after about 30 or so days, I went back to him and said, Hey, Steve, I get the value of the biz dev deals, but maybe we ought to figure out this search stuff. There seems to be something going on over there. And I bet we could sell a lot of DVDs this way. And being a good CEO, he looked at me and said, okay, Eric, you brought it up. You go do it.
This is your baby.
And I was like, okay. A year later, we were doing $3 million a year in sales from search.
Oh my Lord.
And I tend to think of myself as being reasonably intelligent, so it could have dawned on me, maybe I ought to do some more of this. And so that's when I began getting into SEO in a much bigger way. That's kind of the story. And really, the only other major element I could add is that around about 2007, I think it was, one of the things that dawned on me was wow, maybe it would be a good idea if I started writing and publishing stuff and getting out on the speaking circuit related to search and SEO, and began doing all of that. That became the way we do our marketing. Is we do it 100% through just writing, publishing, speaking.
Yeah, we've seen you a couple times, and you've been doing that for a well of a long time. I mean, you're the one of the premier communicators on not only what's happening in SEO, but also how to do it right and make sure that you follow best practices consistently. You were one of the white hats long ago, and we certainly followed Stone Temple for a decade and a half. So we appreciate that contribution to the industry, truly.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And it's a great deal of fun. Another one of the fun facts that I didn't give you previously is I'm the only one in my family who's not a university professor.
Oh.
So the instinct to teach is strong. But I'm in the family sense of things, I'm the black sheep because
wow.
I'm not at a university.
But wait a minute. You probably have the largest following of people in your family, but you're still the black sheep, huh?
Because I'm not doing it at a university. But, yeah.
There's no PhD for this yet.
I think you should just start Stone Temple University. And just,
Well, that's what we call our educational programs internally at Stone Temple. And
absolutely.
Nothing we call Stone Temple University.
So maybe you can start rolling out some certification programs, and we can make you a PhD. We can get you there.
Yeah, there you go. That would be awesome.
Well, if you indulge me, I'd certainly want to give a shout out to our title sponsor. Site Strategics is the title sponsor of Edge of the Web, and we wanted to share with our listeners of the show a special offer. We provide digital marketing strategies regularly to our clients, and they are asking consistently, what's the return on investment when inside of the digital marketing space? I mean, that's truly what you should be focused on, right? Would you like to discover your own marketing ROI? Why not have a second opinion to check out how maybe your marketing firm of choice is actually doing for you? So we're actually offering a 30% discount off of our digital marketing ROI report. You can learn your digital strengths, weaknesses, and threats. It's a summary of all things SEO, social media, SEM, allowing us at Site Strategics, the production team, to get a full insight into the areas of opportunity and growth. Simply go over to the URL edgeofthewebradio.com/ROI. Give us your information and let's have a conversation. No obligation. We can just kind of see, is this a report that's right for you? So edgeofthewebradio.com/ROI. So Eric, forgive our gratuitous plug there, but we had to get that one in. All right. I tell you what, Eric's been a champion and an advocate of Google AMP for, I think, at the earliest incept. I think we are on the 4th year, if I'm not mistaken, of AMP getting rolled out collectively. Can you give our audience, some of our audience hasn't heard of this particular platform, can you give us a snapshot of what Google AMP is?
Yeah, happy to do that. So one of the problems that Google observed is that the mobile web is inherently slower than typical desktop type environment. Currently I'm plugged into a fiber connection here in my office, right? Well, when I'm like trying to do something on my smartphone, that ain't a fiber connection. That's really the kind of thing that causes problems for users trying to do something on mobile devices. And the other thing that kind of fed into this is that both Facebook and Apple had launched initiatives, Facebook Instant Articles and Apple News, respectively. And both of those were ways for people to get news content on the web far faster. It's effectively, you would see something, a link in Facebook, you'd click on it, and if it had been uploaded to Facebook as a Facebook Instant Article by the publisher, by the time you click on it, your finger is barely off the phone, and you already have the content.
Yep.
Kind of instant response kind of stuff. So a pretty compelling experience. And of course, for Google, having people go into Facebook and Apple's walled gardens is not exactly what they're looking for. But the mobile web was, going to be, in danger of being a worse place for people to get news information. So this is really what caused AMP to be born. AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages, and the thing that AMP does is it gives you a way to create web pages that load pretty close to instantly as well. And it was originally targeted at news sites, so it was a direct response to Facebook Instant Articles and Apple News. But it's grown to be something much more than that since then. I'll defer talking about how it's evolved for just another moment.
Sure.
But in the early days of AMP, Google got together a consortium of news publishers and said, okay, guys, let's all brainstorm how we can make the awesome mobile experience. What would work for you as publishers? What can we do to help you out? How can we help promote a standard and create something so that when someone clicks on a search result in Google on their smartphone, they boom, click, and the page just bang, the news article is right there. And they got a number of major news publishers to jump on board with that, and got some really good results for those folks. People love the program. So that's kind of where it all started. So that's just the introduction.
Yep.
I'll let you decide the conversation.
Certainly. So we witnessed, obviously, being in digital marketing, we witnessed the advent of AMP, and it got started a bit clunkily from certain perspectives. It wasn't an easy add-in to the WordPress ecosystem. There were a number of concerns regarding scripts that would not run on the AMP. Remember, this is a kind of a stripped-down, Chromeless environment where you had a simple image plus that article in a mobilely friendly rendering, but some of the ad scripts and different things that weren't running. You actually had a recent Here's Why video about AMP, and you started busting some of the myths of AMP, the first one being the ad platform. So how has AMP improved in this area?
Well, so you're right, Aaron, to talk about some of the things that AMP has had as challenges in the beginning. First of all, just understand that since AMP was acting on web pages, it's very different from what Facebook was trying to do with Instant Articles or Apple with Apple News. And basically, consider the conceit of Google here, which at its core basically says, let's completely change the way everybody builds web pages. Just a little bit of a challenge.
That was the first volley right there.
Right. And so the thing is that's the reason why they targeted initially at news sites, which typically would have very simple information flows and the like, and it made it much more manageable to start. And as we get into the conversation more, I'll talk to you about how AMP has become something that you can pretty much replicate any UI on today. So this idea of it being stripped down is becoming a thing of the past for people who approach it the right way. But going back to the early days, there were lots of ad platforms that wouldn't run on AMP for sure. Any kind of interactive thing was very problematic on AMP. And of course, the core tenet of AMP is you don't get to write any custom JavaScript code. So you have to have ways to work around all those things.
Right.
And so the functionality of pages that you could implement in the very early days was very limited. And this is what's led to the myth of pages being stripped down by design. But to start with the core thing again, from the point of view of ads, the big problem people were having was that, well, I can't run my ad network on here. My revenue is going to go down. So that's not very good. But now the great majority of ad network providers are AMP compliant or have an AMP compliant variation. And for those things that you're trying to run that aren't strictly run AMP compliant, there are workarounds that you can run, such as placing the ad inside an AMP iframe. User experience, it's invisible, it's the same as what you have today. So there's extremely few ads that you can't run. I don't actually know of any current examples.
Now, that's excellent, because it was a big concern, just from a conversion standpoint. The other factor is literally we couldn't control conversion flow. We didn't have the ability to control artwork, design. It was a very limiting sandbox, so to speak, from a marketing standpoint. Granted, the JavaScript started to work, and there was some stabilization there, but I mean, some of the core resistance was you're taking our control away. You're taking the layout. You're taking anything that we can actually manage to be able to help improve our lead intake, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this ties very much into the concept of AMP being seen as a stripped down, interface. And so, I like to give people ways to have intuition about things. So the way to get the intuition about AMP is, so let's say I came to you and I offer you this program where you could give your users a butt ugly version of your website, but it was loaded in 1/3 the time. Users like that.
Yep.
Well, maybe. I mean, but this is why it worked with news sites, because I just wanted the information,
Right?
And the like. But for an e-commerce site, no, or something with heavy branding, absolutely not. But the intuition that relates to why you should think about AMP today is, and this is the promise of AMP today. What if I can take my exact same website, or nearly virtually practically in everything that matters, exact same website, and create a version of that loaded in 1/3 the time? Are users going to like that? And the intuition behind that question I just asked you is so obvious. I don't need to do a study for that, right? I mean, by the way, we have done a study for that, but that's beside the point. I don't need to, because the fact is, I'm getting the same experience. I have all the same controls. I can, I'm on an e-commerce page. I can do sort orders, filters, pagination, have my same look and feel.
Yep.
And it loads in 1/3 the time. Of course I'm going to like it better. And that's kind of where we are today. And that's what the public overall doesn't fully understand yet. It's just how far it's really come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been an evolution, very fast evolution of this platform. Analytics had an issue with AMP at the beginning. What were some of the issues implementing analytics, and how has that changed?
So this is one of the areas that is still a work in progress. It's made a lot of progress, but the issue basically was this. If you create an AMP page for your website, to most people, what that means is they have a regular desktop site, they have a mobile responsive site. So, I mean, it's both the desktop and the mobile version of the site, if it's mobile responsive. And then they would create an alternate version of the mobile template of their page as an AMP page, and use tags so that Google could see, okay, here's the regular responsive page, and over here's the AMP page, and it kind of like mobile switchboard tags used to be, but now for AMP pages. The two things link to each other. That creates the connectivity so that Google can recognize that this AMP page goes with this particular mobile responsive page. So keeping in mind that mechanics, then what happens is that Google discovers the AMP page, and let's say a user searches on something, they click on it, and they come down. They see the search results, and they see the AMP version of your page in the search results, and they click on it, and they get the AMP version of your page. So far, all of this is fairly straightforward, but here's the tricky part. The AMP page is loading from a Google cache,
Right.
from their content delivery network. And because of the fact that it's launching from their content delivery network, it's showing in the user's browser as being on google.com. All right, so that means if you're running analytics on it, first of all, it's not the same analytics tags that you're running on your own site. For sake of discussion, I'll just use stonetemple.com, our site, just to illustrate. So let's say we're talking about having done this for Stone Temple. So the analytics tracking code running on the AMP page in the Google cache is not the same tracking code that's running on stonetemple.com. All right, so that's fairly straightforward. So, but at least I have tracking on the AMP page and I have tracking on stonetemple.com. Right. That's great. But when somebody's on the AMP page in the Google CDN and they click on a link, and that link takes them to a page back over here on stonetemple.com, then they've actually now changed domains. And those two bits of analytics aren't connected. The analytics on google.com and stonetemple.com are different.
Yep.
So the first thing that happens is the thing happening on the AMP pages, really it looks like most of your visits have one page per session. They're very short, and the bounce rate is very high. Because if the user clicks on anything, they leave the google.com page where that analytics is running. And even though they're going to stonetemple.com, the provider of the page on google.com, it's a broken session. And oh, by the way, the Stone Temple analytics seizes a brand new session with a google.com refer. So this actually causes tracking problems.
Yep. And you can also infer performance incorrectly because you're getting high bounce rates. Everything's getting consolidated into that overarching master review. So all of a sudden your bounce rates are collectively going up much higher, right?
That is correct. So the net of this is there is a fix, basically colloquially referred to as the session stitching fix, which allows you to configure both the AMP analytics running on the google.com version of your page and your regular analytics running in your main domain, and cause those two sessions to be united into a single session. And it happens by passing a client ID back and forth between the two bits of analytics, and some other cross-tagging. And it will actually give you a pretty good integrated version of the analytics. There are some subsidiary issues that need to be resolved, and those relate to if you're doing detailed conversion tracking, and also if you have subdomains involved on your site and in your AMP pages that require more configuration.
Right.
A little more than I can recount off the top of my head because there's a few extra steps there. But if you address these things, then your analytics should be in pretty good shape. So all of that's well and good, but what I haven't talked about now is Adobe Analytics, for which this particular fix does not currently exist.
Oh, wow.
And you have to deal with workarounds. So in my mind, this is the principal greatest weakness left in AMP.
Gotcha. Understood. Go ahead.
So to set that up, that's in the property settings of that analytics account?
Yeah.
Or, okay. And then does Google Analytics designate AMP pages from non-AMP pages so you can see maybe your AMP page converts better than how does that work?
Yeah, no, you can see your AMP pages separately from your regular site pages. Really important to do. Just one of the reasons why is because, well, you should get higher conversion rates, and in a minute or two I'll share some more data on that. But in addition to getting better engagement, there's plenty of data out there suggesting that conversion rates go up as well.
So obviously the AMP, I mean, there are different teams inside of Google and they're all working in different spaces. The AMP team really didn't look at how analytics would be affected. Now, are they also helping and guiding us into understanding how to incorporate these stitching methodologies, and are they really focusing on how to put all this together?
Yeah, no, the AMP team at Google, and it's worth, by the way, I'm emphasizing AMP team at Google because AMP is an open source initiative, even though Google is the driving sponsor.
Right.
I mean, Bing is on board with AMP.
Yeah.
As is, Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
Let's see, Pinterest and Baidu and Sogu over in China. But the Google puts out a lot of effort to help people succeed in getting into AMP. And so even though it's open source, it's well worth understanding why this is so strategic to Google. And the reason is because Google is number one on the web. They're number two in the world of native apps on phones. Mm-hmm. Google doesn't like being number two. So that's what makes it strategic to them and why they put so much effort, literally putting all this effort to sort of give away this capability to people and make it an open source thing. They get the benefit from keeping people on the web.
Absolutely, as opposed to crossing over into native apps.
Right.
And so it is a great mobile experience. Obviously, is where the entire focus has been. Out of respect for time, we certainly do want to understand more about Google conversion, how AMP can affect that. You want to give us a quick perspective there?
Yeah, no, happy to do that. So one site that is implemented in AMP that I'll just use as a reference example. It's a publicly known this case study, but it's a great one. Is a site called carved.com. That's CARVED.com. Their site was put together by a development agency called Want Mobile, and it's implemented in AMP and also as a PWA, which progressive web app. Mm-hmm. And they saw great improvements in engagement metrics, things like bounce rate down 20%, time on site, up to 30 or 40%. I mean, really good numbers. The killer number, conversion on this site is up 75%.
Oh.
So the way I like to, when I talk about this at conferences, I talk to people, so how many of you think you could get some pretty good budget for the development team for your website if you told them that you could get your conversion rate up by 75%? Okay, my hand's up in the air. Right? I mean, it's not
a no-brainer, yeah.
Yeah, 75%. We know of other case studies of that scale too.
Oh my Lord, that is fantastic, and that was the biggest hurdle is conversion and the lack of control over that space. And it seems to be that not only do we have more latitude in the design, we also have we're now taking advantage of the technology to the degree where we can truly affect. So this is now a conversion tactic. It's not a user support tactic. It's certainly not an SEO tactic. However, there has been some discussion about the SEO points that get bestowed upon your domain if you're rolling out AMP, right?
Yeah, a lot of people have talked about that, but Google is pretty adamant that you get no ranking benefits for AMP. But of course, if you're a news organization, you get in the news carousel, then you do get effectively ranking benefit for that. Those kinds of sites do see more traffic. And we know media sites have seen anywhere between 30 and 70% lift in traffic from implementing AMP. But I'm going to redefine SEO for you.
Okay.
So, is SEO improving my rankings in search? Okay, that's part of it. Is SEO getting more organic search traffic to my site? Yeah, that seems like that's part of it. Why don't we start thinking about SEO as making more money from organic search?
Ooh.
Think about it that way. If I have a thing that I can do to my website that doesn't change the traffic a whit, but conversions go up by 75%, that's more money being made as a result of SEO, right? Because it's organic search traffic that's delivering that revenue.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I love crossing over
Yeah.
into that space.
Yeah.
I truly do, because that legitimizes a
Yeah.
heck of a lot of things that maybe businesses aren't directly attractive to. But I mean, yeah, if you can get in that space where conversion is the metric, fantastic.
Does it make sense for AMP to be for like a local plumber or a local HVAC company?
So the challenging part there is for the small companies, there is some cost to doing this, right? So the local plumber, $1,000 check related to their web strategy is big. It's a big deal, right? Or 10,000, pick your number, but it's not the same sort of budget that you get at a large national e-tail site. So it's very challenging for them to get the implementation done. And I can't remember, Aaron or Tom, if it was you that alluded to it earlier about the challenges that AMP has in WordPress. There's been a lot of progress there too, but there are still some remaining challenges in WordPress. So what you really want to get to for the local plumber or hair salon or whatever is something where the conversion is pretty close to plug and play, and I don't think we're there yet. So I think we will be there in I don't know, 6 months, a year, or something like that. But if they have the wherewithal to get it done, will they get a benefit? I absolutely believe they will.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, we got some questions coming up on the Facebook feed. First, Mark Traffigan, he asked who your favorite Stone Temple employee is, but you don't have to answer that.
So anybody but Mark
Traffigan. But he also put in the comment stream your link to a complete guide to AMP. Technical implementation guide and case study. So that's stonetemple.com/the-guide-to-amp, and we'll certainly put that in the show notes. Thank you, Mark, for that. But Torin Agic actually said something that he wanted to convey to you, is that you mentioned the analytics issue, but it's still an issue possibly with native AMP implementation. They have a native AMP number of native AMP sites, and they're not seeing the Google cache as a referrer, so the assumption is we're capturing all the traffic with Google Analytics on the native AMP pages.
Yeah, so it's hard to do the diagnosis without digging into detail as to what may be going on there. Torrin, one of the questions would be, did you attempt the session stitching fix or not?
Right.
And if you didn't, then did you put analytics on the AMP pages would be the next question. And if you did put analytics on the AMP pages, the first thing you can do is go in there and look at the engagement metrics there. And I'm going to bet that you'll see very high bounce rates, very low number of page views per visitor, and very short session times when compared to your regular site. And if that's what you see there, then it's likely that the other pieces of the puzzle aren't in place, and there's a little bit of debugging to be done to see why you're seeing or not seeing what you're not seeing.
Well, we certainly appreciate our audience's participation. Thank you for answering that. Hey, we've got 5 minutes left. We want to make sure that we're respectful of your time. I did want to touch base outside of AMP on the voice search thoughts, and you actually did a study where you tested the smarts of the top personal assistants. You've done this study before. What kind of questions did you ask these smart speakers?
Right. So we tested Alexa on the Amazon Echo, Google Assistant running on Google Home, Google Assistant running on a smartphone, and then Cortana running on the Harman Kardon Invoke speaker.
Yep.
And
Bestseller.
Yeah, and we tried 5,000 different questions.
Whoa!
And we spoke the questions to each device manually and recorded the results. And the types of questions were all designed to be informational in nature. So, in fact, they were all things that we knew from our featured snippet study, which is separate from the one we're talking about now. We knew that the featured snippets were returned by Google for, so there's a good chance that we might get a spoken response. So we were deliberately trying to give the devices a good chance to give us a spoken response. And the whole idea was to measure the smarts of the various devices and see which ones were, see which one was the smartest. So that was it.
Oh my gosh, 5,000 questions. And you also tested humor on each of the devices as well.
Yeah, we did. And, we get some very strange responses. Don't test me now. I don't remember.
No, of course.
Off my head, but you can ask questions. I mean, the obvious one is, when you ask what is the meaning of life, then it comes back with the answer 42. But as it well should.
Yes. Very good. Well, Mark also threw in the comment stream the URL to that test. It's stonetemple.com/digital-personal-assistance-study. So if you want to check that out, that's a really cool study. And voice search is here, and literally we've unpacked this on a number of different shows. What's your for a final thought here? What are your perspectives of voice search and the interactive assistant at the home level?
This is the next revolution that's coming, right? We're already at a point where 75% of internet-connected devices are something other than a PC, smartphone, or a tablet. So that means most of the things that you interact with, the internet with, don't have a browser or a search box.
Yep.
And hence, you've got to be able to have some way to give input. And traditionally, that's been through clumsy interfaces. But in theory, and it's already happening, you're going to get more and more of them that you'll just talk to it. Because now you're allowed to process free-form input and allow the user to get more directly to what they want, rather than having to go through 8 clicks to get my temperature range readjusted to where I want it to.
Right.
I'll just say, hey, Nest, change my temperature range to be between 68 and 72, and that'll be it. It's all I have to do. It's definitely coming. It's coming fast.
Yep.
It's a world where the informational queries provide only one response. Unlike a search result, when I go to a browser, if I type in a search query and the first result isn't what I want, and but the second or third one is, no harm, no foul. I got what I wanted.
Right.
But when I'm in a voice environment, I ask it a question, and I'm only getting one answer, and you better damn well get it right, because otherwise it's a bad experience for me. And so there's a lot going on in this voice world.
And there's a lot of trust that you have to get to those devices. And so they're investing mightily into that space. And the game's on to be able to get those top results inside of voice search. Eric, we certainly appreciate your time today. We want to be respectful of your time. We'd love to have you on the show again if you're game for it.
Happy to do it.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you want to make sure that we promote stonetemple.com, their blog, / the personal assistant studies, the mobile versus desktop usage study, as well as voice usage trend study. You guys are doing a great job over at Stone Temple. We thank you for being the clarion call of good SEO tactics. And I mean, they're continually being at the top of their game.
Yep.
All right. So you want to track on social Stone Temple on Twitter, go over to Facebook and check out Eric Enge, E-N-G-E, Also, over on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find you can find him everywhere. Eric's fantastic. Eric, we appreciate your time today, and we certainly appreciate unpacking some great stuff for us. Thanks for listening to Edge of the Web, as well as thanks for participation in the Facebook stream, and to all the colleagues over at Site Strategics. Thanks so much. Be sure to check out all of our must-see videos over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. Who we talk to next week, Tom?
Actually, tomorrow we're talking to Alan Gannett, author of the new book, The Creative Curve.
That's
the
right.
CEO of TrackMaven. So.
I knew that. This was not a surprise to me. I knew that. All right, so we'll talk to you tomorrow. It's an early show.
Early
too.
show, yeah. 9:30.
9:30 Eastern, so be sure to join us there. Thanks, everybody, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. Take care.